Hi everyone, I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Pat Calvin, located here in Houston, Texas. It is Saturday morning, August 13th. We're giving you an update on the latest with Invest 98L. We're not expecting this system to develop, but it is going to be a good rainmaker for the South Texas coastline. You can see there's really not much to talk about on satellite, but the Hurricane Center is keeping a small chance that this thing turns into something organized before it makes its way onshore here through South Texas over the next 48 hours. So it's a 10% chance. Again, this is not a storm to be worried about. This is actually something that parts of Texas really need because a lot of the state is in such a desperate drought. So here's a look at future track on the wider view. The steering winds to the north are going to push this to the south of Houston and then onshore around the Corpus Christi area. And notice what happens right before it moves onshore. We actually get a little bit of a spin. The models have been very consistent in showing this. So even though we're at a 10% chance for developing, I do think a surface low manages to develop sometime between this afternoon and tomorrow morning. And that's when we start to get this huge slug of rain. I mean, notice all of this yellow, the orange, and then the pockets of red. That's some of your heaviest rainfall. You can see rates within this about 2 to 3 inches per hour. That will move onshore, and that's where you're going to see the big focus for the heavy rain. Why doesn't Houston tap into this? Because we've got a big ridge of high pressure to the north. So there's our surface trough right now. Again, this is just an open wave. So that's what the dashed lines indicate. I think sometime tonight that wave turns into a low. Whether it's tropical or not remains to be seen, but that moves onshore. And again, the focus for the heavy rain will mainly be where you see that yellow shading. And notice there's quite a bit of it here, extending from Corpus Christi up to just south of San Antonio, down to Brownsville, and then west towards the U.S.-Mexico border. Houston doesn't really tap into the heaviest of that rainfall because of the influence from that high. But I mean, look at the color table here. You know, once you get to the yellow shading, you're talking about areas that could see locally more than 6 and 7 inches of rain. For us at home, we'll get pockets of 1 to 2 inches, but it's mainly going to be for our coastal areas south of I-10. Notice as you go north of the interstate, that's when those numbers really start to drop off. So places like Huntsville, Conroe, Liberty, out towards Brenham, you could see a few isolated showers and storms, but it won't be much of a different weekend than what we would typically see during the summer months. So here are the headlines for Invest 98L. The hurricane hunters will be flying in later today to investigate just how organized this thing is trying to get. The bottom line for the Houston area is scattered showers and storms for the weekend, as the heaviest rain from anything that turns into anything that develops from this will stay mainly towards the south. So here's future track here at home as we take you through Saturday afternoon. Again, just a few scattered, really even isolated showers and storms kind of pinwheeling in from the Gulf of Mexico. That's the case during the daylight hours. Once we get to the overnight, if this open wave tries to close off into a low, it gets a little better organized. And again, remember, it's several hundred miles down to the south, but we could start to see a few scattered downpours and thunderstorms just after midnight, pinwheeling their way in around the sunrise hours tomorrow. So 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning, we start to see scattered downpours and thunderstorms. I think that'll be the best chance for rain across the Houston area for August 14th. Sunday will be during the first half of the day. Downpours, thunderstorms continue here through the mid-morning hours. Could see locally heavy rainfall, which could lead to some localized street ponding or street flooding, but it's really not going to be a huge concern for us. And then notice as we get into the afternoon, as this potential area of low pressure moves onshore to our south, things start to thin out here as that influence from the high starts to really work in some drier air. And then by the evening, I think the worst of it is over for us. Different story, though, in South Texas. Notice overnight tonight, again, we go from an open wave potentially to more of a closed low. And you're going to see that spin here just offshore of Rockport. Then it moves onshore Corpus Christi sometime early tomorrow morning. Let's figure between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Wherever you see that yellow, the orange, and again, pockets of red. Again, this could be a flooding concern for Tilden, out towards Corpus, Rockport, Victoria, Port Lavaca. That will continue to kind of spin its way farther inland, still leaving behind very heavy rain for coastal spots even into the afternoon. And then finally, look at this. The rain actually enhances as we get into Sunday night and Monday. So if you got family down here in the Rio Grande Valley, I mean, this is something that they need to be paying attention to, because long bands like this, big long rain bands that are feeding off moisture from the Gulf and then getting drawn farther inland, this is where you could see a big flooding concern, even for places that are running huge rainfall deficits, because in just a matter of a few hours, we could see over a half a foot of rain, and that's on the conservative end. Some of these brighter yellow shadings, we're getting close to 7, 8, and even 10 inches of rain. So hurricane frequency really starts to pick up here as we get into the next 4 weeks before we actually peak on September 10th. That's going to be the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. So we are in the time of year where things typically start to tick up. We'll have to wait to see what happens, but we're going to be updating you all weekend long on social media and on air on the latest with this system. Thank you for watching, and we'll hope to see you then.